Welcome viewers, we're back after a 3-month break to Global Reports on Liberty Television. I am Arthur Brooks, it's a new year and we have new ideas. We are broadcasting again across Nigeria on channel 180 on Star Times Network, on GoTV channel 1110 across Nigeria, also on Strong Decoder Multi-TV across Nigeria and across West Africa. You can also follow us live on the internet worldwide from our website www.libertytvradio.com. Just click on the live button at the top of the screen. Today, as usual, we look at global reports, global news that have featured in the news for the last 7 days. Welcome to the studio to our guest, who is Mohammed Dido.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. First of all, we take a look at last week in the Gambia, the president, the elected president, that's President Barrow, sorry, nearly forgot his name, Adama Barrow, was finally given a proper inaugural. Watch this, report from television.
I, Adama Barrow, do swear I will not directly or indirectly reveal such matters as may be committed for my citizens. So help me God.
Gambia's new president, Adama Barrow, sworn in a packed stadium in Bakau, west of the capital, Banjul. The road to this point has been a rocky one. The ceremony coming a month after former leader Yahya Jammeh, who ruled for over 2 decades, refused to leave office after a shock defeat in the December election. Jammeh, who took power in a coup in 1994, cited voting irregularities for the reason he wouldn't go. His reluctance meant that Barrow was originally forced to take the oath in the Gambian embassy in nearby Senegal last month. The crowds cheering wildly when Senegal's president arrived, thanks to his country's role in securing the safe return of Gambia's new president. Barrow took the oath with Chief Justice Hassan Boubacar Jallow, a former UN prosecutor, a new appointment. West African leaders who negotiated the departure of Jammeh present at the ceremony. Thousands of troops from neighbouring states had prepared to enter the capital to force Jammeh out. Barrow's government chose Saturday, the date of Gambia's independence from former colonial master Britain, for the long-awaited ceremony.
Here we see democracy in action. The former dictator who ruled the country with hardly any elections for the last 22 years, that was Yahya Jammeh, wasn't it? Has finally gone into exile and allowed the elected president Barrow to take up his position. This is a good thing. What do you think, Mohammed?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very exciting time for the people of Gambia. All these governments now, we're talking about change. They finally have got some change after 22 years. They have a lot of work to do. The country is in a bit of a financial situation. There was reports of the former president running away with some of the country's money. So they got a lot of work to do to move forward. But in any democracy, this is the first step. The peaceful transition, or somewhat peaceful transition of government. He took some encouraging, as you saw in the clip, from West African leaders and even some military on their borders ready to interfere if he wasn't ready to go. But now he's left, and the Gambian people can now look forward to their future.
Sometimes even democracy needs a little push to move it along.
Definitely.
I think even our own President Buhari was over there talking to Yahya Jammeh.
Yeah.
So what has happened is really something really good for Africa, West Africa and Africa and democracy in general. We're now seeing proper election, elected, as far as we know anyway, as far as we understand it. I think the election has been seen as a free and fair, and we have a duly elected president who looks like a person everybody can talk with. He looks like a president who is reachable and doesn't have extreme views. This is fantastic. So what do you think for the rest of Africa, Mohammed?
Well, I think it's a very good sign for the rest of Africa. As we know, African leaders have a tendency to not want to leave power. They stay in as long as they can, but this is a good example on how Africa as a continent can come together. Other countries came around to support actual democracy and the turning over of power from one government or one person to a duly elected new leader.
This is democracy in action, and we're glad to see it. Let's move on a little bit. Also, last week, the United States President, or the new President of the United States, that's Donald Trump, gave his first major press conference. Let's just watch this report on BBC TV World Service.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
I'm here today to update the American people on the incredible progress that has been made in the last 4 weeks since my inauguration. The press has become so dishonest that if we don't talk about it, we are doing a tremendous disservice to the American people. I turn on the TV, open the newspapers, and I see stories of chaos. Chaos. Yet it is the exact opposite. This administration is running like a fine-tuned machine. President Putin called me up very nicely to congratulate me on the win of the election. He then called me up extremely nicely to congratulate me on the inauguration, which was terrific. And the leaks are absolutely real. The news is fake because so much of the news is fake. But I'm having a good time. Tomorrow they will say, Donald Trump rants and raves at the press. I'm not ranting and raving. I'm just telling you, you're dishonest people. But I'm not ranting and raving. I love this. I'm having a good time doing it. But tomorrow the headlines are going to be, Donald Trump rants and raves. I'm not ranting and raving. We had Hillary Clinton give Russia 20% of the uranium in our country. You know what uranium is, right? It's a thing called nuclear weapons and other things, like lots of things are done with uranium, including some bad things. Politically, it would be unpopular for a politician to make a deal. I can't believe I'm saying I'm a politician, but I guess that's what I am now.
There's been a report out that 48 bomb threats have been made against Jewish centers all across the country in the last couple of weeks. There are people who are committing anti-Semitic acts or threatening to.
You see, he said he was going to ask a very simple, easy question. And it's not.
It's an important.
It's not a simple question, not a fair question. Okay, sit down. I understand the rest of your question. So here's the story, folks. Number one, I am the least anti-Semitic person that you've ever seen in your entire life. We lived in a divided nation. And I am going to try. I will do everything within my power to fix that. I want to thank everybody very much. It's a great honor to be with you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Yeah, this is interesting. There's another segment of that video, of that press conference, which was not really highlighted there. He actually, the BBC correspondent stood up and asked some questions. And when he stood up, Donald Trump said, "Oh, who are you from?" He said, "I'm from the BBC." And he made this comment, he called it, "Oh, BBC, that's a beauty." That was like an insult. You're a beauty. Then he said, "Yes, like CNN, fake news." It's sad we have an American president who is very anti-free press, or so it seems. What do you think, Mohammed?
Yeah, it's unprecedented what he's doing right now. You know, there's been former presidents who have joked about the media's bias toward one political party or another political party, but this is the first time that a president has said that, I think he said America, or the media is America's enemy, or the people's enemy, which, you know, he's now coined this term fake news, which is now going everywhere. Even the president of Syria, when he was shown some pictures of him torturing people, he said this is fake news. So this term fake news is going all over the world now. The attack on the free press, and you know, the free press in a democracy is one of the most important parts of a democracy, and it's actually in America's First Amendment.
First Amendment.
Yeah,
yes.
First Amendment. and it was made to prevent the government from interfering with the distribution of information and opinions. And his attack now is a bit unprecedented. Nobody really understands it. He started it during his campaign, attacking people, attacking the press. He restricted press members from joining him on his campaign. Now he restricts them from joining him on his Air Force One or wherever he goes with the press. So it's a really bit unprecedented. We don't know where this is going.
It seems we have a president who American, not our president. But that was one of the hashtags, not our president.
Right.
That's the American's president. But the point is that he appears to reject any news which doesn't suit him. And as you say, it's enshrined in the American Constitution that the press shall be free. And I guess we're all supporters of free press, particularly we in Nigeria. We've had to fight for a free press during successive regimes. Even our station here has come under a lot of pressure. And also individual journalists have come under pressure. It's very sad when an American president is going this way. Have you ever seen anything like this in the United States before? I know you've grown up and been educated in the States.
We've never seen anything quite like this. In a proper democracy like we have, you have your checks and balances. We have the three branches of government. That's the legislative, the judicial, and the executive branch. And they all have separate powers to check and balance each other. An example would be Trump writing his executive order to stop immigrants from coming through the country from Muslim nations or whatever he said, and then the judicial department or the judicial branch of the government X'd it and said, his executive order will not be allowed to go forward. So there's checks and balances, and the free press is really society's way to check and balance the government. It's society's ability to check the government, freedom of information, freedom of opinions. Society can then check the government and make sure they're not just kind of doing whatever they want to do. And
I guess this is the problem when you have somebody who's not a politician without any experience in politics.
Exactly.
And who's a businessman basically, and he's used to running a business as a one-man.
He's always been a CEO.
He's always been a CEO, yes. So he thinks
whatever he says goes.
He thinks he can run America like he's the CEO of America Limited, and it's his company.
Right.
And that's unfortunate, and it's a bad trend. And it's the whole thing about the immigration ban was nobody really thought he would do it. Then he did it.
Yeah. A lot of the campaign promises he had on his campaign, no one really thought. Like building the wall and getting Mexico to pay for it and the immigrant ban. No one really thought he was going to be able to do it. And in the first 3 weeks, he wants to do it all. It's a bit incredible.
But you, Mohammed, you've got American citizenship, right?
Do.
And you're a Muslim.
I am.
So how do you feel about that? What is your take on it? Your personal take?
Personally, for me, not even as being a Muslim or an American, I think, or America was built by immigrants. Way back when, whether it be Irish immigrants or Italian immigrants during our Industrial Revolution, America was built by immigrants. And to now try and stop new people from coming in, bringing in new ideas, bringing in new labor force, new workforce. He wants to stop even the Mexicans from coming across the border. It's a little bit ridiculous. I think it's very un-American to if you look at the Statue of Liberty, give me your weak, give me your poor, bring anyone. The idea, exactly, the idea of America originally was bring anyone who wants to come, freedom of religion, freedom of oppression. This is where you're going to stay. America, this is, open arms, anybody. But now it seems it's turning a little bit different. People forget the past, forget that their great-grandfathers and their grandfathers came from somewhere else, and now they want to stop other people. I think it's very un-American.
And it's not just stopping there with immigration. Even let's stay on immigration. The fact that somebody's got a green card, they've lived in America, they have family, been educated, they're being educated, they have a career, and suddenly that they leave for a couple of days to go and visit some family members outside the country and not allowed back.
Yeah, you're tearing apart
fantastic.
families. You
Yeah.
know, kids, moms, fathers are being maybe one parent has legal status, the other one doesn't, or one is a citizen, the other one's not a citizen. You're gonna start tearing apart families. You're gonna throw the country into disarray. I think people. You gotta have a heart a little bit. You gotta have a little bit of a heart, and be very accepting. And I think that's America's belief. That's what America was built on, being accepting of all kinds of people, all no matter your color, your religion, your everything, accepting. But now Trump has brought some different ideas, but we'll see how it goes.
But it's not just, beyond immigration, you have a situation with, it appears he wants to unravel all the environmental protection laws, which have somehow kept some of the industries in check, so they will not pollute, like the coal industry and some of the related oil industries. And he wants to throw all these environmental controls out the window in the interest of big business.
Yeah. Like we said, he's a businessman, who doesn't care about the environment. He doesn't care about the fish and the animals. He just cares about how much money is coming in. And you can go that way for a little bit, but I think in the long run, that's where it's going to start hitting you. In the long run, you'll start seeing things aren't going right. They're polluting the water, people getting sick, all these kinds of things. There have been many cases throughout America's history. There was a movie Aaron Brockovich made about a company that pollutes the town's water, and people get sick, they get cancer, deformed children, all that kind of stuff. So you gotta really keep an eye on those things if you want to keep a strong, healthy society.
Yeah, but but here's the thing. He was elected.
True.
And there's people who are voting for these, okay, we can argue about the electoral vote and the popular vote. We all apparently understand now that Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, but the electoral college system depends on the electoral areas which have voted. So he won that, but still, a lot of people seem to support him. So how can so many people be wrong?
Like I said, a lot of people I feel have forgotten the history and the past of America. A lot of they're now Americans, but they forgot that their grandfathers or great-grandfathers and great-grandmothers came from somewhere else. And I think a bit the American labor force, carpenters, electricians, all these kinds of people were forgotten a little bit. With Obama and very educated, higher education people kind of took over a little bit, and then you have this huge, very religious, and Obama now was pushing all his LGBT rights and all these things, and you have these very religious, very hardworking people who feel like they've been forgotten about, or they felt like they were forgotten about during Obama's term, and now they made their voice clear. I think they've made their voice clear, but we'll see how America is going to deal with this in the long run.
It's going to be a very interesting 4 years.
Yeah.
Well, 8 years?
No,
Could he win the re-election?
Let's hope not. Well, we'll see how he does. I think a lot of these things, he has these ideas, but I don't think they're going to work. But
People are talking about is it the congressional elections next year or
every 2 years? So
every
2 years. 2 years after
2 years'
his election.
time.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a problem on the road for Mr. Trump there.
Right, because if he doesn't have the backing in Congress, then he can't really do anything in the Senate and the House. If he doesn't have the backing, if the House and the Senate now go to Democratic side, then he can't really make any moves.
I don't know. I'm a regular Facebook user, and I see a lot of a lot of comments from people who both support and are against Trump. It's very strange where America's not my country, and although I know it's yours, but the number of people who don't have a real connection with America are either very pro or very anti-Trump, and it's quite scary. And what even is more scary is quite a lot of I'm surprised that on Facebook a lot of Nigerians are supportive of Trump. Not the majority for sure, but a lot are, and they think his hard-line views are popular. Anyway, I think our time is just about up, and we have to round up, and we'd like to thank everybody for joining us in the studio, and we'd like to thank our guest Mohammed Dido for coming, and we hope he will come back again. And for those of you who frequent Facebook, we have a Facebook page which is called Liberty Global Reports on Facebook, and we hope you will log on and leave comments. I try to put a recording of this show on Facebook as soon as possible, linked to YouTube, and also link some of the stories and some of the reports and some of the photographs that we've carried, and we hope you will react to us. And we thank you for coming back after a long delay over 3 months, and we'd like to thank everybody in the studio and in the control room, and we hope you have a fantastic week ahead, and we'll see you same time, same place in next week. Goodbye.